What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we have got another live fantasy football auction mock draft for you back on Yahoo. This will be a 12-team half-point PPR auction draft. As you can see, we have got the setup all ready to go here. And while we wait to get going, a quick reminder, if you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe. Let us hear it in the comments section. If you have any questions in relation to auction drafts, this is the place to ask them. We will make sure to answer them all. And lastly, make sure to check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. And while you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you could want at a great value. Details in the description. But with that being said, let's get into this draft because it is kicked off. We have seen our first nomination, Christian McCaffrey. We are up to $73. As you can see, the average salary is 72.6. But I will mention right now, this is a draft where we will be trying out, surprise, surprise, yet another different strategy. So far, we've tried out an aggressive strategy. We've tried out a balanced strategy. Now we will be doing a conservative strategy as it pertains to how we bid and utilize our budget. And for those of you that aren't familiar with these three different strategies, the conservative strategy is, as the name suggests, one where you wait longer to start spending your funds. You wait for, the highest valued players to be nominated and to be, won by somebody else, while you wait for the, late second round, early mid-third round type of talents, guys like the, let's say, Joe Mixons, Chris Carsons, Keenan Allens of the world to be nominated so that you can go and get them later on. And the idea being is you can get more depth and you can have, a roster where there aren't as big drop-offs from position to position. And the most important thing is you can dictate how the nomination and bidding process goes. Now, again, I don't always advise this strategy in particular because, like every single other strategy that we've talked about, it can have its own downfalls. You can have a situation where the biggest issue with the conservative strategy is if more than one person utilizes it, then you can all of a sudden end up overpaying by a decent amount for a player later on. That's a second, third round caliber type of guy, if you think about it in snake drafts, by a decent amount where, maybe that same amount you could have gotten a RB1 for that similar type of value. So that is the downfall of this strategy. But I want you guys to be 100% familiar with this strategy, with other ones. Right now, while we were kind of going into that, Christian McCaffrey, like I mentioned before, went for $73, nothing too crazy. DJ Moore for $28, Dalvin Cook for $71. So these aren't going to be guys that we're bidding on right now. When it's our turn to nominate a player, we're going to go by the golden rule, and that is to nominate an expensive player that we do not want. That is one of the most, if not most important rule in auction drafts, especially if you're doing a conservative strategy, because again, the idea is you want to make other people spend their money first so that when, you're 10, 15, 20 picks in the future, that you can potentially get some of those guys that you're targeting at a good value. That's why it's also very important to tier your players, to have them ranked in a certain way, because especially with these conservative strategies, you're going to be waiting until later on to construct your team. So you don't want to all of a sudden fall in a situation where if you're not paying attention to player tiers, fall off from like tier 2 running backs all of a sudden to tier 3 or, even a worst case scenario. So that's why it's very, very important to know, what's the final moment to, potentially get one of those tier 2 running backs before it's too late. Again, you don't want to be in the other boat because then your roster will surely suffer. And you just saw Alvin Kamara go for $71. So the top 3-4 running backs, McCaffrey, Cook, Henry, Alvin Kamara, all go for 70 plus. And again, that's a pretty good indication that those guys right now are also the top 4 picks in snake drafts as well. That's how it goes. So nothing too crazy there. Now you see Travis Kelsey for $60. I was not expecting that, but it was kind of bid up by a computer, which makes sense. Some of these computers will, bid up the price a little bit. For the most part, we've got a full lobby here, so I'm not expecting anything too crazy. And I think it'll still be somewhat accurate. But here, again, the name of the game is showing you guys this specific strategy. And I think we'll be able to do that regardless whether, we draft with X amount of players, some robots, whatever the case. But it's our turn to nominate someone. We're going to nominate Saquon Barkley, the next most expensive player here for us. Now, Saquon Barkley is very interesting because as of late, his value has taken a hit. And to some people, that might scream value because you're getting, potentially one of the best running backs in the NFL at a discount. This is more so potentially in snake drafts, I would say. Because obviously, if Barkley starts the year on the PUP list, he misses a week or two. And by the sound of what the Giants are putting out there in terms of how his snaps are limited, that can be important. And drafting him as a top 5 running back, that is very, very risky. And paying $66 for him is also risky. He's one of those guys that's going to be, risk or reward. You got to weigh them out. If you can get Saquon Barkley, an 8th, 9th, 10th pick, to some extent, it's a tremendous value. But at the same time, the name of the game in the early rounds of your drafts is minimizing risk. So you have to ask yourself, are you comfortable with that risk? Same thing with Jonathan Taylor here. Obviously, with Carson Wentz no longer expected to play the majority of the season, Quinton Nelson out 5 to 12 weeks, the potentially best guard in the NFL. That's a big deal. That's a big blow for this offensive line. And Jonathan Taylor, and for all those running backs as well. Austin Eckler just got nominated. I was wondering if we would be able to get him at a good value, but he was just nominated. The winning bid is going to be $56, so we're going to still stay out of it for a little bit longer. I want to see these next couple of guys be nominated here, the next, 6-7 names that you see. Interesting to see that Austin Eckler is going to go for $57. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the guy, and I would pay that much, but when we're being conservative, we're probably going to be averaging per position around, if we're looking at running backs, in the 40s. If we're looking at wide receivers, in the 20s, 30s maybe. So keep all those things in mind. And we're not going to get too crazy here. We're going to pass up on some guys that we really like so that we can showcase this strategy, showcase the type of depth that you can build, especially on your bench. If you're worried about injuries, if you're worried about things like that, last year was a year where COVID was running rampant. We didn't really know what would happen, how many guys would end up missing time. Last year might have been a somewhat decent year to approach the season with a conservative strategy if you are in auction drafts to have more depth on your team. This year, normal years, probably not the case because, again, usually you need at least one stud on your team to, make an impact, to have a good regular season, and to put yourself in playoff contention. One, if not two, honestly, especially one at the running back position. But sometimes in auction drafts, if you decide to go that route and spend a lot of money on that one position or just 2 players, then the rest of your roster will have major consequences in terms of the level of play having probably dropping off relatively quickly and very sharply. So keep that in mind. Ezekiel Elliot just went for $63. All things considered, I would say very good value. Probably one of the best values so far that we have seen, considering I probably have him as my 5th overall best running back. Now, Tyreek Hill is being nominated here, already up to $63. So the early, trend so far is that there have been a couple overpays. In my opinion, the 2 guys that come, or the 3 guys potentially. You see Austin Eckler, even though I personally love him. Tyreek Hill is going to go for $10 more than the average or than the projected salary. Let's see if there's anybody else here that kind of fits in that category. I believe DJ Moore also was somebody in that category. Well, I guess $28 versus $24, nothing too crazy. Travis Kelsey, though, the average salary $52.6, he goes for $60. Nick Chubb, let's see where he fits in. So Nick Chubb, $62 versus 57.7. So far we're seeing some overpays here. Joe Mixon is the guy right now. Projected salary 43. He's going to go for around 42. So we'll probably miss out on Joe Mixon. The guy that I'm looking at, Antonio Gibson. I want to look at these other running backs as well here. So right now, utilizing a strategy like this, I'm looking at guys like Deandre Swift, guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, guys like Chris Carson. If we can get, honestly, all three of them, something like that, then we'd be sitting very pretty, in my opinion, at the running back and at the flex position. Get a couple of difference-making wide receivers as well, and I would feel very, very good about the situation. Right now, doing a quick check on our funds to see how many other people have $200. That is always important. Obviously, we still have $200. There's another person here on AutoPick with $200, and another one, and one last other individual. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4 people with $200. And I'm hoping they kind of get it going. So, we don't see the bad outcome of the conservative strategy, even though I think that would also be beneficial, and even maybe more so to see how you can circumvent that type of situation. Devontae Adams now is going for probably $58. And if that's the case, I'm happy with that, because that's going to put a chunk in the funds of another person with $200. And we're going to be in a much better situation. That is the case here. As far as wide receivers, I mentioned a couple of running backs that we would be targeting. Wide receivers, let's take a look. Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, those would be the guys that right now I'm a big fan of. Cooper Kupp, always, CeeDee Lamb, some other guys, and we'll even be able to afford a couple other names, honestly, because I think we'll have the money to make it work. At tight end, I'm looking at, as always, TJ Hawkinson. I'm looking at guys like maybe even a Kyle Pitts, so I'm not too worried there. Quarterback, we'll be able to probably get an upper tier, upper echelon quarterback. Stephon Diggs right now goes for $57. So right on par with Devontae Adams. Tyreek Hill was the most expensive wide receiver to be drafted. Again, makes sense. I would say, since this is half-point PPR scoring, he's probably a little bit more valuable. I have him as my number one wide receiver in standard scoring. But Devontae Adams going for $6 less, I would say, is pretty good value. Probably more so an overpay for Tyreek Hill than anything else. But it's all right. Now Aaron Jones is the latest nomination. I expect this to get up to, again, the $53 amount relatively quickly. It's still way, way, way too early for us to see discounts on players. But don't you worry, if you see those discounts, that's the bread and butter of the conservative strategy. We're going to be able to take advantage of that. And Aaron Jones has gone up for $57. So again, this is what I like to see. Let's get other people to spend their money. And let's see how many people have under $100 at this point. There is one person at 65, another at 55, another at 69, another at 81, another at 56, another at 85. So half of these individuals have under $100 left. That's good. This is going by pretty quickly, and we are sitting pretty in terms of, in comparison to our competition. Patrick Mahomes now will go for $43. That is way in excess of what you should be paying for Patrick Mahomes. You see his projected average salary for 37.4, 36. But it's our turn to make a nomination, and right now I'm going to go ahead and, again, keep true to my strategy. I'm just going to nominate the next most expensive player. In this case, it's DeAndre Hopkins. Hopefully somebody will pay up right around 45, or if not more. We're up to the $52 amount already. And again, this is a trend that you're going to see, especially with some of these bots. But again, you see a person that's live drafting here with us, take it up to 53. Now, again, I think that's probably overpaying a little bit, but, to each his own. Everybody believes in a certain wide receiver, and sometimes you're going to have to overpay for your guy. That's the thing of the auction draft. That's the beauty of it. If you really, really want a certain player and you have the funds to make it work, then you're going to get that player. It's just a matter of How much are you willing to overpay? And boy, when I say overpay, I kind of laugh because Antonio Gibson is going to go for $54. I was not expecting him to go to hit the $50 amount, even though some people are being very bullish on him. And I was hoping we can get him, but around $40. He goes in the 50s, and again, nothing wrong with that. We'll see. A lot of people think that he's going to take another big step forward. Certainly when he was healthy last season, he was tremendous. And now, the expectation is that he's going to be even more involved. And officially, I believe that we are the only team left with $200. So this is setting up very, very nicely, if I may say so myself, for a conservative type of strategy. People are, wheeling and dealing. They are spending money left and right. This is what you want to see. This is, I'd say right now, probably the best case scenario for a conservative strategy. Now, we've still got some picks to go, some people to spend up, but, if we can be the only ones above $150, come 5 picks from now, then I would be very, very happy. And, we will be able to kind of dictate how this thing goes, because if you look at the max bids on some of these guys, it's like it's not all that much. Some guys already have under $10 max bid. So I like where we're at right now. And Calvin Ridley is the latest guy to get nominated. He's probably going to go for that $43 amount. Somebody that I really, really like as a potential wide receiver one, potentially the wide receiver one alongside Tyreek Hill. I'm really a big fan of his without Julio Jones. All things considered, I think $43. Yes, per the projected salary, you are overpaying, but I think it is an overpay that is worth it. So it's okay, though. I think somebody like a Keenan Allen that we can get, again, mentioning him, that is PPR based, that's going to benefit from the fact that this is half-point PPR scoring, gets a little bit of a boost. Pair him up with Allen Robinson. I think that's a very solid combination. Then if we can get, again, Deandre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Chris Carson, I would be very, very happy. A.J. Brown just went for $45. And yeah, looking at some other running backs, I think there's kind of a drop-off in talent after Chris Carson. You could argue David Montgomery, Darrell Henderson, some good values there. But overall, to me, there is a break in the tiers after Chris Carson. Justin Jefferson is now up for $34. There he goes for $42. I was going to say, if he stayed at the $34 amount, I would have gone in on the bidding. I think that would have been a good value. I think he's probably going to go for this $42 amount. Yes, that's the way this thing looks. So, again, we're going to be probably bidding here on a player rather soon. Miles Sanders is just nominated, so not quite yet. I say quite soon because Keenan Allen and Allen Robinson are the next, or 2 out of the next 3 best available wide receivers, so they'll probably be nominated here rather shortly. And looking at other positions that we can hit, I'm curious to see where Darren Waller goes. I'm curious to see, I should say for what amount he goes, because that's also sometimes the nice thing about the conservative strategy. If you've already hit your positions like running back and wide receiver, and there's still some pretty decent elite level tight ends on the board, even quarterbacks, then, you can afford to splurge a little bit. And that's always nice, getting an edge at those positions when you've already addressed the running back and wide receiver position. That's the way that I see it. David Montgomery here nominated for $30, up to $34. We'll see how much higher it goes, $35. So again, I probably would not be paying this much for David Montgomery. Rather give me Chris Carson for $33, $34, $35. I would feel much better about that. So yes, there goes David Montgomery. And now, there we go, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That was one of those running backs that we were alluding to. He goes for $39, could very well go for $40, $41. So we're getting close to that amount. Question is, how do we want to construct the roster? Do we want to get in on this bidding process? And it looks like it could be a bidding process between 2 individuals, up to $43, $44. I'm curious if I kind of push it up, whether these guys will back off or not. But again, to some extent, this is a mini example of how a conservative strategy can backfire. Again, we have the majority of the funds, but one of those people that's bidding here has $146, so it's not like they are really handicapped either. But I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire here is going to go for $49, which a little bit too expensive. Like I said, I think our average on the running back position will probably be in the 40s. So we're going to stay out of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think getting Deandre Swift and then Chris Carson will still put us in a good position. And there goes Naji Harris. I might throw, just out of curiosity, a couple dollars at Naji Harris, but I think he's probably going to get to the $40 amount. And I've been on record saying, unless it's at an incredible value, I am not the biggest Naji Harris believer due to the offensive line with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And here, somebody else that, again, had almost $150 gets him for $39. So that's, all things considered, not bad for us. The only other people, I'm counting how many people have above $100 or at least $100. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4 people have over or at least $100, and that's excluding us. So that's not bad. Here, DK Metcalf could go for $39. We'll see if somebody bids a little bit more, but no, he goes for $39. But yet another person hitting the under $100 amount. Here goes Darren Waller. Yeah, so we're not going to bid on Darren Waller. It's okay. We've got our backup in TJ Hawkinson, so I'm not worried about that at all. The auto bid up to $29, that's rather aggressive. I'm hoping somebody else, bids up on him, since the person that's bidding already has, under $50, but that's the case there. So no, that won't happen. Instead, it's our turn to nominate someone. So here I'm going to nominate J.K. Dobbins, somebody I want nothing to do with, but that's still at the running back position. Probably will go for a decent amount, hopefully for around $30. I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe somebody will bid it up. There you go, up to $35. That is what I wanted to see. 36 now. So we're going to end up, forcing somebody else to spend a good amount of money. Up to $41, definitely not going to be getting in on him. I never intended to, but somebody that is a much more standard-suited running back for $41, no thank you. So, again, we continue to be at a decent place. I'm hoping some of these other individuals, that still have some funds here start to spend up. One of them gets involved here. I'm going to be getting involved in Allen Robinson as well. So he's going to be someone that I mentioned that we are going to be targeting. If we don't get Allen Robinson, we can always get Robert Woods. That's the thing. This is why I mentioned it's so important to have tiers on your players. Yes, I really like Allen Robinson, but I'll throw an extra dollar here, make it 35 to see if the other individual bites. Yeah, they do. So this is one of those situations, kind of sensing when somebody else might still be involved in the bidding process. So we took it up to 35. It's now up to 38, 39. So I think it'll probably hit the $40 amount here for Allen Robinson. But what I was saying before, why it's so important to have your tiers, because even though I started off by saying, yeah, I'd love to get Allen Robinson, guess what? Him and Keenan Allen aren't the only 2 wide receivers I'd be all right having as my starters. I'd be all right having Keenan Allen and Robert Woods. I'd be all right having Keenan Allen and Julio Jones. So those guys are all options. And finally, we get another one of these guys to go under the $100 amount. Now there are officially only 2 other individuals with over $100. So I feel good about that. Now, though, we're going to get Keenan Allen. I'm saying this flat out. To me, he is by far the best wide receiver left. And PPR scoring, I'm landing Keenan Allen. You can bid as much as you want, unless it gets to an absolutely asinine amount. We're getting Keenan Allen here. And you've kind of got a bid off here between a couple individuals, but, they don't know what's coming, what's in store for them, because we're going to get Keenan Allen. Like I said, Allen Robinson went for $39. I'm curious to see what Keenan Allen will go for, because, like I said, I'll get this bid up to $39 to $40 if I have to. Keenan Allen, in my opinion, is a wide receiver one that is incredibly undervalued. So we're going to put another dollar here. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get Keenan Allen. I'm not worried about that. You shouldn't be either. I think he's an excellent value at his current price, at his current ADP, whatever you want to call it. So we get Keenan Allen for $38, a dollar cheaper than that of Allen Robinson. I'm seeing if anybody else at the wide receiver position now in retrospect was a very good value. And, somebody like a DK Metcalf at $39 kind of stands out. Somebody like a Calvin Ridley for $43, I would say also stands out a little bit. But all things considered, I think we got a decent value on Keenan Allen. There goes CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is also another interesting player. I was hoping we wait a little bit longer until his nomination so that I could potentially get him for like $15, $16. That sometimes happens. And I think it could have happened here because right now the injury news with Amari Cooper kind of up in the air, not trending in the favorable direction. So CeeDee Lamb could be in store for a huge season. The amount has already gotten up to $32, $9 more, $33 now, $10 more than his projected salary. So you can see that people are in on CeeDee Lamb. Let this person that has $107 get under the $100 mark by getting CeeDee Lamb. I'm all right with that. Like I said before, we've still got Julio Jones, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett on the board. We have got good options. Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin here. Somebody nominates him. I'm hoping this gets to the $30 amount. I want nothing to do with Chris Godwin. And, somebody pays up for him. I don't care. It's not going to be me. So he's up for $14. Again, how many people still have over $100? Just one other individual. We'll see how high this amount goes for Chris Godwin. All things considered, right now it's a good value. And there we go, up to $28, just like that. The computer was not having it, so that's all right. That's probably what, in reality, it should be. So that's why I'm saying sometimes even having a computer to get those prices up to what they should be is not the end of the world. Makes it a little bit more realistic. And with that, again, always nice to see another person spend up their money. And as I've always said, these Tampa Bay wide receivers, unless they are named Antonio Brown, they are not worth anything in comparison to their current ADP or to their current price in auction drafts, which is currently what you're looking at. Mike Evans, though, at $20, it's a pretty good value. Up to $22 now, up to $24. Curious to see how much it will go up to. So looks like 24 might be the winning bid. Again, I'm all right with that. I think they all have the exact same upside, the exact same ceiling. And if you offer me, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin at, let's say, an average of $25 per person versus Antonio Brown, who probably the most you're going to pay for him is $3, I think you know who I'm going to go with. So, yeah, keep that in mind. There goes T. Higgins. And right now, I'm just keeping an eye out on some of these, more expensive players. Because, another downfall of the conservative strategy is, I always say this, really with any strategy, but I would say the conservative strategy is probably more prone to putting you in this situation, is that at the end of your drafts, in auction drafts that is, you want to be as close to the $0 amount as possible. Obviously, if you're very aggressive, then it won't be that big of an issue. But if you're conservative and you're keeping your money, close to you and not spending all that much early on, you can, by accident, end up in a situation where if you end up with over $10 at the end of the draft when it's all said and done, that's not good, and if it's more than $10, if it's $15, if it's $20, then, that's putting it, blatantly, it's very bad. And right now, I'm going to get in on this Cooper Kupp bidding. It's at $17. I think it's a very good value. I'm all right paying $20-something, honestly, right now. We have it. Yeah, I'm just going to get in on $22 because right now, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, to me, are pretty much the identical player. So the question is, who are you going to pay more for? Is it going to be Robert Woods? Is it going to be Cooper Kupp? It's a situation where kind of up in the air, but the other individual here that had over $130 has gotten in on it. I'm going to let them get Cooper Kupp because I think, again, we can get Robert Woods for a similar amount, and I'm perfectly fine with that. As I mentioned, Keenan Allen, Robert Woods is our starting wide receivers. That's something that I feel very, very strongly about. Kenny Golladay is being nominated. He's dealing with a hamstring issue currently. I don't think it'll end up being a long-term issue. But, I mean, even, whatever the case might be, even if he was 100% healthy, I don't see Kenny Golladay as a wide receiver one in fantasy football anymore. Now when he's on the New York Giants with Daniel Jones and with all those other wide receivers, and he's not a big target guy in terms of receptions, in terms of getting peppered with a bunch of volume. So to me, he is probably a wide receiver 2, and his floor might be a low-end wide receiver 2 at that. Kind of just depends on the next step that Daniel Jones takes. But here's a player here that we are very high on. That is Chris Carson, and he is going to be one of our running backs. Make no mistake about it. He's going to be a guy that we draft. The question is at what dollar amount? Because right now, the majority of people have about, not a lot of money. We'll just put it that way. If I get Chris Carson for like $30, I'm going to be ecstatic. That's very, very good value. We're getting to the point where, sure, he's going to get up to $30. I'm all right. I control this bidding process. That's the beauty of this thing. Again, similar with Keenan Allen, I'm saying I'm getting Chris Carson, and you better believe I'm getting Chris Carson, because the person that has $74, the person that has $65, they're not going to be able to contend with the big boys, with us who have $162. We're putting our foot down, and we're getting Chris Carson at whatever, the value might be, $33, $34, $35, $36. We're getting Chris Carson here, folks. And the other people, well, they better just deal with it, because that's going to be the case, and that's exactly what happens. We get Chris Carson for $33. Don't really overpay. That was his projected salary, so I feel good about that. In my eyes, both these guys are wide receiver 1 and an RB1 as well. So Amari Cooper is just being nominated. While I could make a run for him, and when healthy, I think he's very, very good. Right now, the injury situation, a little bit scary. Probably, I'm being hesitant towards Amari Cooper, and I'd rather have somebody else spend up on him, at least until we know his situation closer to the start of the NFL season. Before that, I'm not really all that big of a fan of spending. His projected salary is 27, but he obviously goes for 15, so a good value, all things considered. But I'm just not all that invested in spending money in Amari Cooper or anybody right now that's trending in the wrong direction. Here we go. TJ Hawkinson was nominated for $10. I anticipate, considering the starting bid for him, that it's going to get up to $20, and that's all right, because I think he's definitely worth the value, and I think he puts us at an advantage at the tight end position. Again, you could argue Kyle Pitts there, but I just have a lot more confidence in TJ Hawkinson. So let's toss $1 here at TJ Hawkinson. We'll see if we get him at $17. If we do, again, I think that is a very, very good value. Up to $18. But again, we are still controlling this bidding process. I'm going to put it up to $19, and we'll see if it gets up to $20. If it does, I'll take it up to $21. So you get the name of the game. It's all about controlling the bidding process, and right now we're still able to do it. We're going to get TJ Hawkinson for $21. It's our turn to nominate somebody. So here I'm just going to nominate, let's say a Josh Jacobs, somebody at the running back position, a very important position that I am not the biggest fan of, because I think with Kenyon Drake there, with a offensive line that's taken a step back, well, Josh Jacobs is probably going to take a step back in 2021. And he's also kind of touchdown dependent, kind of one-dimensional as far as pass-catching running backs are concerned. So, yeah, let somebody else deal with that uncertainty. Right now, I like the way this is taking place. We've got a guy in Keenan Allen that I think is, belongs in the wide receiver 1 conversation. TJ Hawkinson definitely belongs in, the top-tier type of tight end conversation. I think he takes a huge step forward this season. Chris Carson, a lot of people always sleep on him, but that's all right. He always, when healthy, he produces. And we're going to get another running back here in Deandre Swift. He's definitely very PPR suited, and I feel good about that. We'll probably get a third running back just because, again, it's the most important position, and never hurts to have depth at that position. If you're worried about Chris Carson, if you're worried about Deandre Swift, then getting somebody like a Mike Davis could be a decent idea. Right now, here, there we go. We're not going to have to wait too long for Deandre Swift because he is the next person that has been nominated. I anticipate that this will get up to, probably the $25, $26 amount. We'll see. We still have the most amount of money left, so I am very, very happy about that. Unfortunately, damn it, it goes up to $28, and it's one of those give and take situations with drafting with a computer. They just decide to put it up to $28. They can. So that's, before that it was, I believe, $12, so or something like that. So we're going to get Deandre Swift at $29, still cheaper than his projected salary. And this is kind of going the way I projected in terms of our average value on the running back position. I said, I believe at the beginning of this, it'll be right around the $30 mark. If you average it out, $29, $33, yeah, that's pretty close to it, $31. So a good place. We've got our second running back. We've got a tight end. We've got a wide receiver. So get another wide receiver, get another flex player, Darrell Henderson. Not all that interested in him at the moment. I'd rather have a Mike Davis probably. Speaking of running backs, that are going to be good values at this point in time. I think that, Myles Gaskin, Mike Davis, Damian Harris as always, Ronald Jones, all these guys are very, very good values. So Darrell Henderson is going to go for $28, considering we had Deandre Swift for $29. By the way, Darrell Henderson up to $29. I feel pretty good about it just because I'm not sure that Darrell Henderson is necessarily going to be able to be what Cam Akers was expected to be. He's not going to be the direct replacement for Cam Akers, at least in my opinion. The Rams could still bring somebody else in. And right now, doing another quick salary check. Unfortunately, we don't have the most amount of money left at this point. We have the second most amount. If somebody has $89, we have $79. So just pointing that out here. Right now, I'm looking at Robert Woods. He is the guy that I am targeting, and I'd be very, very happy to land him. And there he goes. Speak of the devil, Robert Woods. You see him be nominated here, and I'm going to get in on the bidding. We're going to take this up to, however high it has to go, because I want my wide receiver 2 on the team. And I've been saying his name for a while. Cooper Kupp went for $24, if you guys remember. So this is one of those times where we see, was it worth it to wait for Robert Woods, or should we have gotten in on Cooper Kupp instead? To me, they are very comparable. And at the end of the day, it becomes, did you pay too much for Robert Woods? Did you pay too much for Cooper Kupp? Who was the better value? And it looks like we got the better value. We waited a little bit longer for Robert Woods, and we saved $3, which is always a win. Saving any money is a win, especially in these auction drafts. We are now down to $58, so not quite in second place anymore, now in third place with our funds. But our starting roster doesn't look too bad, folks. Keenan Allen, Robert Woods, Chris Carson, Deandre Swift, TJ Hawkinson. Add a nice solid flex piece. And again, this is why it's so important to know your values in these auction drafts, because knowing that you can get an Antonio Brown for $3 and basically spend nothing for him, and that he can be a solid flex player, that's stealing. That is absolute stealing. Right now, Josh Allen is going to go for $29. Kudos to the person that takes Josh Allen for $29. It's not going to be me, because I know not to overpay for the quarterback position, especially when Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson are still available. And those guys are going to go for, in my opinion, less than $20, maybe even less than $15. Julio Jones just got nominated. I'm interested to see how much he goes for. If it's something incredibly cheap, I'll throw a couple of dollars at him. I'm never upset to have Julio Jones as my flex option. For God's sakes, that's very good value. He's up to $13 right now, $14. The question here that you have to ask yourself, are there other options at the wide receiver position that you would feel better about than him, that you think you can get for cheaper? Right now, for me, no. There's, like I said, Tyler Lockett. I think getting Julio Jones for $17, that's a very, very good value. And I'm going to throw a dollar at him. We'll see how high this goes. So up to $18. Another player that I'm looking at, Deontay Johnson. I think he's also a very solid player, a solid option. Curious to see how much he goes for. I'll let Julio Jones slide. He does have the injury designation right now. It doesn't really necessarily mean anything. Again, we've still got time to go. It's still early. Guys are going to get nicked up in training camp, even more so in preseason. So don't freak out about that. Tyler Lockett is nominated, a guy that I had mentioned before. So I'd be okay potentially paying up for him as well. It just all depends about what the price is. And what I mentioned before about the conservative strategy, you look at our team, you look at drop-off in talent at positions, I'd argue, it's tough to find. Keenan Allen, Robert Woods, both probably top 15 wide receivers. Chris Carson, Deandre Swift, again, both potentially top 15 running backs. TJ Hawkinson, a top 5 tight end, top 4 tight end, I would argue. So I like the value of that. Tyler Lockett here, I could go and bid an extra dollar on. Fortunately, I get it in a little bit too late, but he goes for $14, a very, very good value. I'm still looking at getting, a backup running back option, getting some depth there, getting like a Deontay Johnson. I think he's, even though, potentially a little bit risky, I do like the upside. So Deontay Johnson is someone that I'm going to be interested in. Getting somebody, getting even Kyle Pitts as a flex play would be something that I'm interested in. And especially if he plays, the wide receiver position and the Falcons want him to be the Julio Jones replacement, boy, oh boy, is that going to be valuable. And I just having TJ Hawkinson and Kyle Pitts allows you so much freedom at the tight end position. It's probably going to be something that I look to do in my actual auction drafts when the time comes, because people at some point in time during the season are always hurting at that position, always looking to make a trade. And I think Kyle Pitts allows you a lot of power in those negotiations. And honestly, if he really is a guy that is played kind of at the wide receiver but has a tight end designation, he'd be all right to be used as a flex guy. DJ Shark just went for $14. All things considered, that DJ Shark went for $14 and Tyler Lockett also went for $14. Tremendous value on Tyler Lockett, and I think an overpay for DJ Shark. Thielen up to $11 here. So right now we're in that sweet spot. Ooh, so much depth, so much value here. So you still see guys like Myles Gaskin on the board. Guys like, let's see if Deontay Johnson is still on the board. Yep, he's right here. I think that's a very, very good value. I'd rather have him than Thielen, who, if the touchdown regression comes, which he had 14 touchdowns last season, that's probably going to, it's going to hurt him a decent amount. He's up to $14. So I'll pass on Adam Thielen. I'd rather take a chance on Deontay Johnson, like I said. Right now we're at $58. So are we back in the lead in terms of budget? Yes, we are. Nobody else has $50. Lamar Jackson just got nominated. We'll see. I'm all right having Lamar Jackson on the team. I'd also be all right having Kyler Murray on the team. And it's all about how much, these guys go for right now. It's up to $14 for Lamar Jackson. I'm kind of thinking, should I risk it for Kyler Murray to see if he goes for cheaper? I have them very close together. I'll go up to 15 for Lamar Jackson. If it goes higher than that, it's all right. I'm all right passing up on Lamar Jackson. Kyler Murray is somebody that I really, really like as well. So just kind of looking at the max bid that people have, nothing too crazy. We're still in control of that. So Lamar Jackson goes for $16 here. And, we'll still be able to probably get Kyler Murray. I'm hoping we don't overpay for him by that much, but we'll see. It could potentially backfire. So it's one of those situations where you won't know until it happens. So hindsight is 2020. Decided to kind of roll the dice to see if it pays off, and we might get a little bit burned. But again, that's why I felt pretty good about being in a situation where we got some really good value on other players beforehand. Myles Gaskin here, I don't know what people were messing around with. He's only up to $5, $6. The dude could very well demand a $20 salary. So I think a very, very good value at this point in time. And I'll probably get in on this nomination and bidding as well, depending on how high it goes. Or I might just, get cute and just get Mike Davis instead. So I might do that. Let these other guys spend on Myles Gaskin, lower their funds, and put us in a stronger and stronger situation. So far, I like the way this is playing out. But here goes Kyler Murray. This is what I was waiting for, and we'll see if it backfires or not. I have a feeling it might backfire. So, fingers crossed that he doesn't go for more than $16. That is the goal here. And the way it's looking, we're going to put it up to 12. We'll see if we're lucky enough to get him for $12. If we are, that is another situation where we get the better end of the deal and where we are right. And that is exactly what happens. We were right about Robert Woods. We were right about Kyler Murray. So that's going 2 for 2, folks. That is what you like to see. I'm just going to nominate Kareem Hunt here and, make somebody else pay up for him. I'd be better off with Mike Davis, in my opinion. And then Deontay Johnson is somebody else that I still really, really like. Kareem Hunt right now, I'm curious to see what amount he goes for. I'm hoping it's for around $10, $15, but considering it's only 2 people bidding for him, he could very well go for only $4, which is, that's an absolute steal for Kareem Hunt. So that's what it's looking like. Yeah, Kareem Hunt just went for $4. Probably one of the best values in this draft. But I'd rather get Mike Davis, a guy that I know is going to be the RB1 for his team, than Kareem Hunt, who has to contend with Nick Chubb. And right now, another, backup running back, Travis Etienne, who I'm not high on. James Robinson is going to get the majority of the carries on that team. So I'm just not buying into Travis Etienne. I might, for the hell of it, nominate, Antonio Brown a little bit later on. Right now, we've got $46 left. So, we're in a situation where I was saying before, the name of the game is to get as close to $0 as you can. And we've got, I believe $10 more than anybody else. So we're in a good position to get a pretty good bench here, a pretty good flex. Right now, the best flex, I think, would be to get either Deontay Johnson or Mike Davis, or, hopefully both of them, and then kind of see how it plays out from there. Again, I mentioned Antonio Brown. So that's a situation where, here goes Kyle Pitts, though. He is the guy that I was looking at as a potential steal and somebody that I'd be all right, even having TJ Hawkinson overpaying for a little bit just to get him, to allow us flexibility at the position. He goes for $11. Am I going to, bid $12 on him? Hell yeah, I will. I've got $46. I can afford to do this. You can see our max bid is $38. So yeah, I'm going to get Kyle Pitts. If the Falcons really do use him as a flex play, then, he's going to be a steal at that position. And what you can trade him for would be absolutely bananas. You won't believe it. So getting Kyle Pitts there, technically our starting roster, I'm not counting kickers and defenses, is taken care of. It's accounted for, but I'm still, like I said, going to get Mike Davis and hopefully Deontay Johnson. I'd rather have Deontay Johnson as my flex than Kyle Pitts because, again, we still don't theoretically know 100% how he will be used. So it's good to have depth. It's good to have backups. And again, pointing it out, I don't think that there is necessarily a huge drop-off at any position on our team. Again, the counterpoint to that, however, would be, well, you don't have a bona fide stud at the running back or wide receiver position. A guy that's going to finish, that has the ability to finish as the RB1, as the wide receiver one. And to that, I would say, yeah, okay, you're right. I don't. But Keenan Allen is probably a top 10 wide receiver in PPR. Chris Carson, I'm a bigger believer than most. And look at the teams that have those, those absolute studs. Like, okay, you've got a Christian McCaffrey, and then somehow you got like an Ezekiel Elliot too. Well, what's the rest of your team look like? Because your starting wide receivers are probably like, well, T. Higgins and then like Cooper Kupp or something like that, or maybe even worse. And then you've got a big drop off at tight end as well, and his quarterback. So that's all I'm trying to say. Right now, our budget has kind of taken a hit a little bit. Our max amount that we can go for is $14. So I'm hoping Deontay Johnson goes for a little bit less. But I didn't want to put ourselves in a position where, we necessarily we're having too many funds left over. So I'm at $14. Anything more in terms of bid for Deontay Johnson, and we won't be able to get him. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get him because it goes up to $15. But that's all right. Again, it's one of those situations that happens. I decided to pay up a little bit more for Mike Davis and for Kyle Pitts to get depth at the running back position, to get a little bit cute with the tight end position. But like I said before, guys, we've got Kyler Murray. You talk about studs at positions. The guy can finish as the QB1. We got a stud at TJ Hawkinson. We got a potential stud and Kyle Pitts. So I feel good. In my opinion, Keenan Allen is a stud. Chris Carson, Deandre Swift, pretty high floors in my opinion. So again, it's a situation where I don't think there's a huge, flaw in our team. There's not a huge drop off. I think all these guys have high floors. They've also got a decent amount of upside. So I like the squad so far. We've got $20 left, so we've done also a pretty good job of what I was referencing before, and that is, getting the most bang for our buck, getting close to that $0 amount, even though, we still have to fill out 7 more roster spots, so it's not over by any account. I still want to get somebody like an Antonio Brown. That'll probably be the last name that, I potentially kind of get, because making this any longer than it already is, and you've seen kickers and defenses being nominated, that's not really beneficial for anybody. Brendan Cooks is also somebody that worth mentioning. Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is very, very interesting because he's hurt. He's going to miss a decent portion of the season, but when he comes back, the dude is a wide receiver 1. So if you have the flexibility and if you have the luxury of getting somebody like a Michael Thomas, which I would say right now we definitely do, then I would do it, because even if this was our final team, I'd be all right with it. If we can land Michael Thomas, who I'm going to nominate in a little bit, and we get that potential wide receiver 1 later on in the season for a playoff push, then we really differentiate our team. Dak Prescott just got nominated, so that's going to be the last nomination that I make. I'm actually going to go with Michael Thomas and see how that goes. But yeah, you see how much his average salary is dropping, and it's going to continue to drop. His projected salary is $6. So yeah, it's taken a bit of a hit. One of these computers might bid him up for a bunch of money where we can't get him, but I would say the majority of people probably aren't going to be paying Michael $20 for Michael Thomas at this point in time. And he's on the PUP list. The question is, how much time is he going to miss? You look at the report, don't really know, and it's a tough situation. It's definitely a gamble. Let's call it what it is in terms of getting him on your roster. It's all about what value you pay for him. If it's a snake draft, what round you draft him in. If it's an auction draft, how much money you get him for. So those are the things you got to consider there. Right now, I'm going to add one more player to our team, and I alluded to it, probably a wide receiver, either like a Michael Thomas, an Antonio Brown, and then we're going to call this thing a day, because it's already getting up there in terms of length. And for that reason, no reason to make this like a 2-hour video, something like that. I think all things considered, you guys saw the idea of the conservative strategy. Wait a little bit, be in a position to throw your weight around with the amount of money that you have, dominate the bidding process and say, when you want to, this player is going to be mine. And after that, be in a position where, if you really want to, just splurge on another position. That's what we did at tight end. We got TJ Hawkinson and Kyle Pitts. So that was nice to see. We got Mike Davis as well, in addition to Chris Carson and Deandre Swift. And we splurged on the quarterback position on top of that with Kyler Murray. Didn't cost us all that much either. So feel pretty good about it. Again, here we're going to nominate Michael Thomas. We'll see what happens. Quickly want to see who has, in terms of max amounts, if any of these computers have more max money that they can offer than us. No, so that's pretty good in our favor in terms of potentially landing Michael Thomas. Again, it's one of those things where it's risky, but I'm going to do it. I think we're in a position where we can add him as a luxury. Even if he doesn't play a single game, I'd be all right with that. I feel good about our team. So we're going to get him as kind of a luxury pick here, and we're going to wrap this thing up. So I'm going to take this up to $5. We'll see how much higher, if any, it goes. But getting Michael Thomas for $5, that's an absolute steal. Again, it all comes down to how many games he plays and at what point he plays them. But there you go. We land Michael Thomas for $5. If he comes back, our starting wide receivers are Keenan Allen, Robert Woods, Michael Thomas. I don't care how many games Michael Thomas plays, but the dude's a wide receiver one, whether it's with Hill or with Jameis Winston. But with that, we're going to wrap this thing up because we're already, hitting that length mark. Other guys that I would consider, just to name them, Brendan Cooks, Antonio Brown, Marvin Jones at running back. Let's see if there's anybody that I really, really like. Melvin Gordon, Damian Harris, Ronald Jones, James Robinson, all guys that I would mention. But that's kind of it. As far as the roster itself, I think this is a very solid roster. I'd probably give it a B plus type of grade. Really depends on what happens kind of with Kyle Pitts and Michael Thomas. Those two factors I think could bump it up even more. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Again, along with any auction draft related questions you guys might have, this is the place to ask them. And if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. And again, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. Get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide while you're there. Great value, everything you could want. Details in the description. But with that being said, we'll see you guys in future videos.